Welcome to your Daily 5 for Wednesday, January 8th, 2025. One of the individuals that I follow over on Blue Sky who is very privacy and cybersecurity minded posted a story that I was really astonished that I hadn't heard anything about before now, because at least the article that I'm going to link to, the Tom's Guide article here that explains how to turn this feature off, is dated as January 2nd. And before I saw this on Blue Sky, which I want to say was late Sunday, maybe, I don't exactly remember, I had heard nothing about it. I had not seen it on any of the big tech blogs. I had not seen really or heard anything about it outside of, again, the fact that somebody on Blue Sky happened to post this. Now, that could be because a lot of the podcasts I listened to took a break for the holidays, so maybe this just slipped under the radar, although I don't know. It just seems like I should have seen something about this somewhere. And what it's talking about with this article, the Tom's Guide article, and what this individual was talking about is a feature that apparently was brought about in iOS 18 and macOS 15. And it's a feature called Enhanced Visual Search. And what this feature does is in your Photos app, if you take a picture of something and there is some kind of notable landmark in the background, I'll be telling Lando about this because I'm pretty sure he doesn't know. My wife didn't know either, and it was on her phone. So obviously it's not restricted to newer devices, because this feature, many people think, is geared towards Apple Intelligence. But like I said, my wife's phone is 4 or 5 years old, and it was on in hers. So what this feature, and she turned it immediately off, what it does is, let's say you take a picture at a landmark. For example, Lando's in London, so let's say there's a picture of Lando in front of Big Ben or Parliament. Big Ben, Parliament, whatever. It will take that information and it will try to, I don't really know how it does this, but I guess it analyzes the image to try to recognize a landmark, I assume off a database they already have, and it sends information on that photo back to Apple to enhance some kind of future search feature, is what most people think. And the thing about it is, because the feature itself, it makes sense that Apple Intelligence, like any other AI product, they're going to have to constantly try to update and enhance their databases. But the thing that's interesting about it is that users were opted into this by default without any notification. My wife knew nothing about it. I've checked all the devices I have. I don't have an iPhone. It doesn't appear to be an iPad OS, at least I didn't see anything for it. I'm going to double check again, but I didn't see anything obvious. But my wife saw nothing on this. So it was either, I'm sure it was buried in the terms of service when she upgraded to iOS 18. But like most people, she doesn't sit there and read everything. She's not a lawyer. And the other thing that's interesting about it is people lost their minds when Microsoft pre-announced that they were going to have that recall feature be opt-in by default. And yes, it's not a one-to-one comparison. Recall tracks everything you do on your computer, whereas this is specifically in Photos. But the thing is, Microsoft is one of the companies that Apple either explicitly or, suggests is lesser than they are, because they don't take users' privacy and security as seriously as Apple does. So it is interesting. And Apple says this is all anonymized data, and I don't doubt that it is. But it still is, for a company that talks so much about how your data stays on your device because that's your data and it's your device and nobody else should be able to see it. And this is information that's being sent back to them without users knowing and without users making the decision to be part of it. I think most people would probably actually opt in or wouldn't care. But the fact that they are opted in by default is interesting for a company that so often positions itself as more concerned with your privacy and your data than these other lesser companies are. And again, I'm not saying it's a one-to-one thing with recall. Recall is a whole different beast, but it is a reminder that no matter what Apple says, if it is in the company's best interest, they are going to be very willing to circumvent some of the principles that they at least publicly market themselves as holding near and dear to their heart. And I know people say, oh, this is an overreaction. It's one little opt-in feature in Photos specifically. How could you possibly compare it to companies like Google and Microsoft that try to sell every bit of your information? That's true today. But you don't know what's going to be true tomorrow. And as soon as you start to see a little bit of movement in areas like this, you better believe that if there's $1 or a share price increase involved in making future moves like this, they're going to make them. So is this feature and this opt-in particular thing, is this the end of the world? Absolutely not. But is it a nice big red flag that Apple isn't really that much better than other companies the way that they say you are? Yeah, you better believe it. They're the same as all the rest. Later.